I paid for my sister's education while working 2 jobs, only for her to call me a loser during a family dinner. She was surprised when I stopped paying her rent and told everyone why she could no longer afford her lifestyle. When my younger sister, Louisa, got into her dream university, the whole family acted like it was the greatest achievement of all time. My parents were beaming with pride. Louisa was already talking about the career she was going to pursue, while I sat in a corner silently calculating how we were going to pay for it. My parents didn't have the money to cover her education. They made that clear when they started hinting at it during family conversations. Louisa is so smart, but university is so expensive these days, my mother would say, looking at me as if I didn't already know where that conversation was headed. I didn't have much. I worked as a mechanic and was trying to save up to buy a house. But Louisa was my sister, and I thought, what harm could there be in helping? So, I started contributing. At first, it was small things, her books, a bit of food. But it didn't stop there. Soon, I was paying her rent, her bills, even her nights out when she needed to relax. Every time she asked for money, it came with a promise like, I'll pay you back when I graduate, or Mom and Dad just can't help right now. The worst part was that my parents acted like it was my duty to help. Family takes care of family, they would say, as if I wasn't already killing myself working 2 jobs to keep them afloat. Louisa, meanwhile, acted as if the world revolved around her. She posted pictures of fancy parties and weekend getaways, smiling as if she wasn't living off my hard work. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Once she graduates, it'll all be worth it, I thought. But deep down, I started resenting the fact that my life was on hold while hers sped ahead, all thanks to me. I thought things would get better once Louisa settled into her university routine. I imagined she would realize how much I was doing for her and show some gratitude. But if anything changed, it was her sense of entitlement, which only grew. The first real sign was her spending habits. While I was skipping meals and working late shifts to pay her rent, Louisa was showing off her new wardrobe on social media. Designer bags, trendy shoes, fancy dinners, things I could never afford. At first, I tried to justify it. Maybe she got a part-time job, or she's just exaggerating to look good. But when I asked her about it, she shrugged. Everyone at university dresses like this, she said. I don't want to look out of place. It wasn't just her attitude toward money. It was everything. She treated me like a walking ATM. She never asked how I was doing or if I needed help. My parents weren't any better. Whenever I tried to talk about how much I was struggling, they guilt-tripped me into silence. She's your sister, my mother would say. She's building a future. You should be proud to help her. But it wasn't just helping. It was sacrificing. My weekends disappeared. My savings were wiped out. And that house I always dreamed of? Forget it. Meanwhile, Louisa couldn't even be bothered to send a thank you note. Instead, she would call to complain about her professors. It was always something like, they don't understand how hard I work, or it's not fair that they give me so much work. And I, exhausted after a double shift at the workshop, had to listen without arguing. After all, if I dared to say anything, I'd be the insensitive one who didn't understand how hard she was fighting for her future. Then came the dinner. An invitation from my mom, as always, disguised as an attempt at family bonding, but I knew it was just another chance for everyone to pretend everything was fine. Even so, I accepted, thinking it might be nice to have a moment of peace away from work and bills. I arrived at my parents' house straight from the workshop, my hands still marked with grease, and was greeted with the same coldness as always. My mom was busy in the kitchen, and my dad was on the couch watching TV. Apparently, Louisa was already there, in her room, resting from her exhausting week. Of course, because studying a few hours and partying on the weekend must be exhausting. When we finally sat down at the table, I tried to focus on the food and tune out the conversation. But Louisa didn't take long to start her show, as she always did. You won't believe what happened at university, she began, with that exaggerated tone only she could use. I had to redo an entire assignment because the professor said it wasn't up to standard, as if he knew anything. No one responded immediately. My dad let out a supportive grunt. My mom nodded her head, and I kept chewing, trying not to say what I really thought. But she didn't stop there. It's so frustrating. I'm one of the best students, but it seems like they just want to bring me down. It's like they don't want to see me succeed. You know what I mean, right? I took a deep breath, mentally counting to 10, but before I could stop myself, my mom decided to add fuel to the fire. Louisa, sweetheart, don't worry. You're brilliant, and we all know it. Some professors are just jealous of your potential. I couldn't hold back. Or maybe they're trying to teach you something, and you just don't want to listen. The silence at the table was immediate. Louisa shot me a glare that could kill, but I kept eating, pretending not to notice. What's that supposed to mean? She asked, her voice full of indignation. It means maybe it's time to stop blaming everyone else and start taking some responsibility. You're in university, Louisa. You're not a child anymore. You can't expect the world to treat you like a princess. My mom tried to intervene, but Louisa was already ready to attack. Oh, of course. Coming from who? The mechanic who never left his workshop? Please, you don't even know what responsibility is. All you do is fix cars and complain about life. You know what you are? A loser. That's what you are. The word hit like a slap. For a moment, everything stopped. I looked at her, incredulous, trying to process how the same person I had supported for years, who lived off my hard work, could stand there insulting me in front of the entire family. I stood up slowly, placing my napkin on the table. My mom started to say something, but I raised my hand to silence her. That's enough. I'm done. I looked Louisa straight in the eyes. You want to call me a loser? Fine. But you know what? This loser paid your rent, your bills, and even your damn parties while you pretended to be an adult. This loser gave up his own dreams so you could live yours. And what do I get in return? Insults. She opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't let her. From today, it's over. I'm not paying for anything else. I won't sustain your spoiled princess lifestyle anymore. Want to call me a loser? Fine, but now you'll have to figure out how to pay your bills on your own. Good luck with that. My mom started crying, and my dad, in his typical apathy, muttered something like, "We'll talk about this later," but I wasn't willing to listen anymore. I grabbed my things and left, leaving the table in silence. On the way home, I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief for finally saying what needed to be said, but anger for letting the situation get this far. I knew Louisa wouldn't take it easily. She was good at manipulating people, and my parents would probably do everything they could to make me back down. But this time, it wouldn't work. When I got home, my phone started ringing. It was my mom. I ignored it. Then messages started coming in, first from her, then from Louisa. "You can't do this to me. I need you. How am I supposed to pay the rent now?" I read them all, but I didn't respond. I knew this war was far from over, but for the first time in years, I felt like I had a chance to take back my life. When I finally got home that night, I was still trembling with anger. The word loser echoed in my mind like a knife spinning endlessly. The audacity of Louisa to call me that, after everything I had done for her, was unbearable. I knew she was used to being treated as the center of the universe, but this had crossed every line. However, as I sat on the living room couch, I began to feel something different. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from carrying the weight of her choices. Free from having to sacrifice my own dreams for someone who didn't even understand the meaning of gratitude. That thought brought me unexpected relief, and I decided that from now on, I would be the priority in my own life. The next day, I woke up early and went straight to the workshop. It was a Saturday, but it made no difference to me, as I worked every day to support a life that wasn't mine. While tightening bolts and replacing parts, I felt something different in the air, a new determination. Maybe it was time to change. Maybe it was finally time to think about my own future. But, as expected, Louisa wasn't going to let it go easily. Before noon, my phone was already full of messages from her and my parents. Her messages ranged from desperate pleas to veiled threats. "If you don't pay my rent, I'll be evicted. Don't you care about my future?" And of course, the classic manipulation. "Mom and Dad are so disappointed in you. They never thought you could be so selfish." I took a deep breath and decided it was time to face this once and for all. I called her. When she answered, her voice was loaded with anger and contempt. "Finally, I thought you were going to keep ignoring me. How can you be so stingy? I can't believe you're actually leaving me in this situation. Louisa, I just want to know one thing. I began trying to keep my composure. Do you really think I'm a loser? She was silent for a moment, but she didn't take long to retort. Well, I was just being honest. I mean, look at you. You're stuck in that mediocre job while I'm trying to build a real career. I snorted, a short and bitter sound. So, you really think your life is better than mine? That I'm inferior to you because I'm a mechanic? It's not that, she said, but her voice betrayed the lie. I just think you could have done more with your life. Done more? I finally exploded. Louisa, do you know what I've done with my life? I've dedicated it entirely to supporting you. I paid for your university, your rent, your bills, your parties. While you were spending my money on clothes and trips, I was skipping meals and working double shifts. And yet, you think you have the right to look down on me? You have no idea what responsibility is. She tried to interrupt, but I didn't let her. Do you know what's more ironic? You're there, thinking you're superior, but who's going to be evicted now that I've stopped paying for everything? Who's going to have to learn to live in the real world without depending on me? And do you know what else? I'm done. Done being used. Done being the idiot who does everything while you live like a spoiled princess. There was a long silence on the other end of the line until she finally responded, her voice trembling. I just thought you wanted to help the family. I didn't know you felt so much hatred toward me. Hatred? I shot back. I don't feel hatred, Louisa. I feel disappointment. I feel sadness realizing you never saw what I did for you. And now, I feel relief because I've finally chosen myself. Before she could respond, I hung up. My heart was racing, but for the first time, I felt no regret. I knew she would have to face the consequences of her own arrogance. And as expected, she didn't fare well. 2 weeks later, I received a message from my mom saying Louisa had been evicted. Apparently, her amazing internship didn't pay enough to even cover half the rent. She tried asking her friends for help, but as is often the case with people like her, she had no one truly willing to sacrifice for her. Ironic, isn't it? Now she finally understood what I had done for her. My parents, of course, tried to intervene. My mom called almost every day, saying I was being cruel, that Louisa was my sister, and I had an obligation to help her. But this time, I didn't give in. I didn't answer, didn't back down, and let them deal with the consequences of their own choices. After all, who had decided I was responsible for her? Not me. Meanwhile, I started investing in myself. I opened a savings account, something I hadn't done in years. I started researching courses to specialize in advanced automotive mechanics and even considered opening my own business. For the first time, I had hope for my own future. And Louisa? Well, I heard she had to move back in with our parents, something she had sworn she would never do. I imagine it was a hard blow to her ego. But honestly, it was no longer my problem. Finally, I was free. And for the first time in a long time, I was ready to live my own life my way.